U.S. President Trump pitched his America First message on the international stage today in Davos. But a bombshell development at home stole the show. There are new reports he tried to fire the special counsel who's investigating Russian interference in the U.S. election. The CBC's Ellen MAURO joins us from Washington. Ellen, tell us about this report.
Well, Paul, this is a New York Times story saying that President Trump ordered special counsel Robert Mueller's firing way back in June, and that the only reason it didn't happen was because White House counsel Don McGahn basically said, you can't do this to President Trump, and threatened to quit if the president didn't back down, which he obviously eventually did, according to this story. Now, this isn't the first time we've heard rumblings about the president and a possible plan to fire the special counsel, but what makes this particularly significant is the timing. This report says Trump tried to do this in June, just as the first news stories were surfacing that Mueller was investigating Trump for possible obstruction of justice. So if this latest New York Times story is true, it looks like Trump trying to fire Mueller would have been a reaction to those reports that he was being investigated, which is problematic. But the president was asked about all of this today, and he denied this New York Times story, calling it fake news. Have a listen.
Fake news, folks. Fake news. Typical New York Times fake stories. Thank you. Thank you. That's fake news.
So the president dismissing it with a familiar refrain, fake news, but it's still raising a lot of questions, Paul, about whether he might have been trying to influence the Russia investigation if this reporting is true.
Okay, the rush of stories on Trump and this investigation is so constant that it's sometimes hard to take the measure of it. Why is this story particularly significant?
Well, if you think about the possible firing of Robert Mueller, it's hard to overstate the fallout we would have seen if that had actually happened. There would have been protests, it would have been denounced by both parties, and it certainly would have made the so-called Russia cloud a whole lot bigger for this White House and the president. But this story itself, even though it didn't happen, will add to that cloud because it creates another layer to the president having issues with Russia investigation officials. Remember, he fired James Comey, he's criticized the Justice Department over the Russia investigation, and now this report about firing Robert Mueller. And this report comes just as it's seeming increasingly likely President Trump will be interviewed by Robert Mueller in the coming weeks, and this report will almost certainly come up.
Okay, thank you for that. Ellen MAURO in Washington.